When has any major MMA event gone down without some drama? This week, as we talk about the biggest fights of the season, we can't miss talking about the crazy face-off between Raufeon Stots and Danny Sabatello in Bellator 289. Not only was this fight super amped up with bad blood to begin with, even its conclusion became the talk of the town. Stay tuned to this video to find out why. Let's start with some fight facts from their match. With Blake Grice as the referee and the world as a witness to the super anticipated match, the fight was aggressive from the get-go. It started with a body kick from Sabatello, who was ready to take down Stots in the very beginning, but Stots was smart enough to evade him. They both held their ground with some hooks and submission threats here and there, keeping the audience hooked to the entire thing. The first round ended with a whizzer from Stots and 10-9 for Sabatello. Round 2 was a little less stable because neither of the guys seemed to find the rhythm on time, but it still had a few exciting moments, including when Sabatello dragged his opponent to the cage, who managed to get up, land a few short elbows, and go for a leg lock, although he failed there. Then again, with a 19-19 finish, it wasn't the worst round of the game. The rest of the rounds were no different. With stiff jabs and headlocks, both players moved to a 10-9 ending for Stots, which took him a little closer to the finish line. But hey, the championship rounds were still left, which were to decide which athlete was going to win the match. And we all know what happened next. With some flying knees and missed hooks, the fourth round ended with a 10-9, and the fifth one with a 10-9 where Sabatello was hardly given any chance to do any major damage, ending the match with a 50-45 victory for Stots. Wait up, so who was the better player? As per the play-by-play we just discussed, none of them. Like, sure, Stots may have won, but they were really at par with each other when the game began, and even when it ended. But Stots really took the win to heart, calling Danny the villain in the game. That's right, he says he really needed a bad guy in his career, and Sabatello may just be that. In the post-match press conference, he was pretty outspoken about his win and how he thought his attempts shaped the match. According to Stots, he was really surprised with the 50-45. He knew his opponent was trying to control the game and stall out the decision, but by doing what he does best, Stots made sure the decision landed with him on top. Although he was a little disappointed, he couldn't finish his adversary properly. Dude, you bloodied the man with your elbows in the final stanza. What else do you want? Guess the bad blood had really come to a head between these guys, and this match was Stots' only way to even it out. Coming up, Sabatello was great for Raufeon's career. That's not us, that's the winner talking. He says fighting against Danny was a great step up for him as it challenged him a way no one else had, because his opponent was one of the strongest ones he'd encountered, only not strong enough to win, making him a classic villain in Stots' story. Ha! The main character energy is pretty strong in this one, but he also appreciated Sabatello a bit, saying how he thinks his opponent's skills were better than he thought, and how he thinks he'll be back. He also said he thinks Danny's going to learn something from this loss, how it was a fun fight and an exciting build-up, and how he'd like to experience it again. Hold on, so will there be a rematch? Considering how the game ended, we think so. Sabatello's the kind of guy who definitely won't rest until he gets his play-by-play revenge against Stots. So we think there's a lot in the cards for these two, and we may see them back again with their haunches raised and hooks ready to fight each other again. But let's put that aside and talk about Raufeon's next match for a minute, which is set to be against Patrick Mix in the Grand Prix finals. A date for this bout is yet to be announced, but we're ready to see these guys take it against each other in the cage as swiftly as in the Bellator match. When asked about the upcoming battle, Stots had a lot to say about his upcoming opponent. He said he's seen glimpses of his fights and seen his matches ending, with Magomed Magomedov. He called Patchy good on the ground, but went on to say that he cannot be better than him in mixed martial arts. He ended his statement by saying he was looking forward to the game and putting his wrist in between the gap in his teeth. Oof, dude, can you calm down a little? No wonder his fight with Danny had such a huge build-up. The guy really can't hold his tongue, can he? Now to the bad blood between Danny and Raufeon. So we've told you about the match and all the crazy things that happened in it, but you can't round the whole thing up unless you know the chaos that went on before it. Trust us, once you listen to all the stuff we have to say, you'll find that Raufeon Stots' statements make a lot of sense. When the game was announced, both fighters did the usual to market it amongst their fans, but things got pretty ugly when they brought the big guns out, including Stots saying that Danny had nothing to offer the fans except for wrestling. He said the dude's whole game is a facade, down to the way he talks. He called him a one-dimensional fighter and said that while it's all true, Danny's built a persona that makes people forget all that. He's even called him a bully previously. Patchy, saying he'll even the score in the cage, which we guess he did. He also made fun of his fighting style, saying that even though he puts up a pretty strong persona, when the game begins, he tries to win by cuddling the opponent's legs across all rounds. Well, he did take his words back in his post-win conference when he said Sabatello had better skills than he'd imagined, but still pretty harsh. But guess what? Sabatello was even harsher. Now, here's what Danny said about Stots ahead of the fight. Fair warning, things got pretty ugly when Sabatello started speaking, because for him, Stots never even stood a chance. Every comment he made about him was full of obscenities and whatnot, even going as far to say he doesn't even care about playing it smart as he did with Higo, because Stots is not a threat, not at all. He called their upcoming match a free-for-all fight, saying how it was going to be one guy beating the other guy up. He said he didn't have to play it smart, and he could be free to do whatever he wanted with his opponent because, wait for it, he's a bum. Well, now that's a lot of confidence for a match you didn't even win, dude. And considering how the pair have been verbally sparring with each other pre-game, no wonder Stots said he was glad to be the one to shut Sabatello up. Next, what does Sabatello have to say about the fight now? Well, Stots may be happy with the decision, but let us tell you, the other guy is pissed. Not surprisingly, he doesn't agree with the scoring at all. After months and months of trash talk against his opponent, when he finally lost the game on mere damage, Sabatello became super hostile and could not understand what the judges, Brian Miner and Eric Colin, were watching. That's right, he isn't even sure they were watching the same fight. Guess that's what we call a sore loser, eh? In his post-game interview, he was full of anger, and a lot of expletives will save your ears from. But to put it mildly, he wasn't happy. He said he and his team think he won the fight, but the decision is what mucked everything up. So for him, it's on the judges. He also said that considering he won every single round, the score doesn't make any sense to him at all. Whoops, guess he's ready to KO the judges if he ever gets a chance. We just hope it doesn't come to that. Coming up, do fans think the same thing? Fan reactions kept pouring in during the game, some rooting for Stots, others waiting for Sabatello to do some major damage. One of them commented on how Sabatello couldn't throw both hooks in to get back to Stots. If he'd done that, the fan said he could have even won. Others called out the judges on the decision, saying it wasn't a fair one. Others said they needed an investigation. And some more fans were all for Stots winning because, honestly, we think Sabatello's overconfidence pre-match really tired everyone out. A few fans said the judges were corrupt and advised other MMA players to make sure they weren't part of their games in the future. Oof, looks like the bad blood may be temporarily over between Stots and Sabatello, but has risen between the fans and the match's judges instead. Finally, what do MMA pros think? Let's just say they've taken the decision with a grain of salt and a lot of raised eyebrows. Once the Bellator PR Twitter account revealed the score sheet, tweets started coming in about how unfair the whole decision was. Aljamain Sterling calls the whole decision ignorant. Al Iaquinta said the FBI should be looking into this. Angela Hill asked for an internal investigation against a tweet asking for a drug test for the match. And Funky asked why was Doug Crosby even judging any fights anymore. Guess the MMA community isn't happy with the decision. So, do you think a rematch for the title is coming up soon? That's a wrap for this video. What's your take on this match's controversial decision? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.